let's get started. Either 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. So, welcome to our Deschutes County Board of Commissioners meeting. This is 1 p.m. Monday, November 3rd, 2025. First item, is there any citizen input for items not on the agenda? Citizen input, remote, any raised hand feature? Okay, so, seeing none, commissioner announcements. Today.
I did just tour the Bethlehem Inn. I think it's Birch Apartments in Redmond. Remember, we funded them with $900,000 and they're actually full. Their new full number is 40. And they feel like they've had incredibly successful programs going on, all 3 of their programs now. They just sent me their dashboard. So really happy that they're in our community doing what they do as far as high barrier and transitioning people. So, yeah, they're currently they are full at 200. 160 in band at their program and then 40 in red.
Wonderful, thank you. This time consent agenda, few items on there today.
So moved.
Second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner Dare,
Yes.
Commissioner Chen,
Yes.
and Chair will vote yes. Agenda item 5, update of the Oregon Water Resource Department. They're about water today. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good afternoon, commissioners. What we are here for today is just to inform you of a statewide effort on static water level reporting. So, there are about 3,600.
Your introduction.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Jeremy Giffen, Deschutes-based water master.
I'm Carolyn Suffett, Central Region Manager. So we have about 36,000 points of appropriation that have a water level, static water level.
Did you say 1,000? It's
100,
3,600.
3,600, yeah. Have a static water level reporting requirement on their permit. And the state has embarked on an effort to make sure those folks who have that condition on their permits are reporting there as required. So these are general, they can be every year or at a certain number of years on their permit for them to get a static water level measurement, usually in March or April. There are a significant number of folks who do not comply with this condition on their permits.
How do they know if they have this on their permit?
It will be on their permit, so it's written as a condition on their permit.
Okay, so it is written. Do you send them emails to remind them?
No.
No, so the total burden then is on the permit holder.
Yes.
Okay, all right, but you would probably know if you have one of those permits, if you were supposed to be complying, you would let them know, like in a couple months when they were late.
That is what this effort is about. So we are in.
Brought us here today.
Yeah, why we're here today, is because we are beginning to send notices out to those who have not been complying with this condition. Our region happens to have a very, very few, the least amount in the state of folks who have this condition on their permits. There's a lot of reasons that go behind it, but most of these permits came in around the 1990s towards today, where you might find those. I believe we have in this region, that's Crook, Jefferson, and Deschutes County total, we have about 23 was the last numbers I saw compared to other parts of the state, which have, hundreds. So not very many folks will be affected by this, but we wanted to get the word out that we are starting to send notices out to those folks who have not been complying with these permit conditions, letting them know that we are needing them to comply. Starting next year, if we do not get compliance out of those reports, we would start doing, going along with our enforcement procedures that might include civil penalties.
So these are agricultural wells only, agricultural water.
There might be.
I think everything that has a permit condition.
Okay, it could be a
Indeed,
domestic
March.
well for a water system or, yeah.
Not, probably not a domestic. Not-
not
not
domestic,
domestic.
but like a
This is
group
gonna be the
domestic or,
permanent.
yeah.
Group.
But your
Yeah.
avions, your
Yeah.
cities, your
Yeah.
destination resorts.
Yep.
I don't have details of the folks that are affected by this. And they're still vetting the data was last I heard because they want to make sure they have their information right. But those notices will be going out probably in the next month or two
And it's done in the spring before,
before pumping starts.
yeah,
Generally March.
yeah, got it.
And the measurement and reporting is a way that for us to have good groundwater data and be aware of trends. So that was the effort behind this.
And, so we've only got 23 permits in the Tri-County region that, need to follow this, this measurement reporting requirement. There are more groundwater permits than those 23. It's
Correct.
just some of them are older.
Yeah.
And, you know, my impression also is just that there's generally not that many groundwater permits in the Deschutes Basin compared to a lot of other places. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, in the valley, you're gonna catch a lot more than we have locally.
How about anything that's been developed since 1990?
Well, the mitigation program obviously slowed that down tremendously, so.
And anything before the 1990s likely doesn't have that condition on it, so. Those people are not affected.
And, so not only do we not have very many of those 3,600 that have this requirement, but I'm guessing that, you know, particularly if some of them are like, you know, municipalities, like that, they are pretty up to date on their measurement and reporting. So among our 23 that are affected, like, do we already have decent compliance, or is there?
So the 23 that are affected are the people who are getting notices this year. But there's about 110, I believe, people who have that condition or water rights with that condition in the Tri-County area.
The 22 that haven't been reported.
Yes.
There we go. Great. Well, but it's a good data point, good to understand, especially annually, you know, over time, it'd be good to understand the big picture.
And then we also wanted to be here to, if there are any water related questions or issues that you guys would like to talk about, we're here for it.
Yeah, that there was, I mean, our
Yeah, thanks for
staff report included the whole legislative, you know, everything water related that came through the legislature this year, and I definitely had some questions on some of those things, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I mean,
No, please.
is there any more on the static water level before we?
Well, so really this, yeah, to leave with that item is just for the community to understand, this is
Yeah.
coming around, opportunity to share the information at our board meeting and the public that be following, and hopefully the media will put it on the headline, right?
Right.
So are they actually fairly well dispersed then in the three counties, those 23 reporting?
Again, I don't
Properties?
have the specifics on that yet. All I know is that that number is for the Tri-County area, so I don't know what the breakdown is per county.
Well, and then what does that testing look like? So it's a third party, or can I do it myself or just send it in?
No,
Yeah, so help me with that real quick, just so people understand.
Well, it's a permit condition, and on there it says the authorized personnel that are able to do that, and it's generally all the new groundwater permits out there that require a March static water level. And so, like a lot of the permit conditions, a lot of them, you know, you get your water right permit, you know, I get to use water, so you put it in the drawer, and you don't read the ongoing conditions, like the claimants and beneficial use that are required, and things like that, so. This is just something we're reminding people that, you know, this needs to be turned in. It's a serious permit condition.
But a qualified professional to take the measurement though.
Yes,
Certified water rights examiner.
Yep.
Geologist, professional engineer, licensed well constructor, or licensed pump and stuff and so on. Take it away, Commissioner.
23 out of 110 doesn't sound like huge percentage.
No.
Okay, yeah, so there was a lot of legislation this last session, and some of it is of great interest, I think, in the Deschutes Basin. Would love to just ask some questions about some of the bills. And for some of this, just getting some basic background for our benefit in Deschutes County would be helpful. So, and you're starting with, I think I have some handle on this, but just for anyone who's watching, could you describe the water bank bill? Kind of how that's gonna play out here.
Yeah, so the water bank, needs to be approved. The charter needs to be approved by the tribes, basically before anything can happen. That will be happening for the bank to be implemented, this coming year. Just got kind of the confirmation on that. We were under a pretty tight timeline to make that happen. But they are looking at starting the bank in 2027. There's two main aspects of the bank. It's either fallowing land, and letting that, the water that is from that fallow land to go towards North Unit. Or there is another option to do split rate, split duty. We don't imagine that will be going live for a couple of years. We'd like to work with the fallowing option, make sure we can get that under our belt and working smoothly before the split rate, split duty is occurring. The bank was in an effort by the DRC. We're helping as the water department, we're helping support bank operations. That would include water accounting. That will mostly fall to Jeremy. Yeah, so the next steps for getting the bank going are getting the charter approved by the tribes. It needs to go out for public review. It needs to get approved by the Water Resources Commission. And then the next step would be to submit an annual operating plan by January 1st of the year that we decide to run the bank. We'll go under more review by our department, ODF and W, and another public comment period. And then we would be able to start doing it we would get the final operating plan done or completed by March 1st. Jeremy would have about a month to vet all of the transactions that are happening, and then we would be ready to go for the irrigation season.
It's just a little different than our normal, we have a successful leasing program in this basin we've been doing for many years. It's kind of an offshoot of that, other than you fallow your acres in a senior district. You take 75% of that and you put it up to North Unit for increased water, and then 25% goes in stream. So it's kind of a hybrid of some of our existing programs, but this will be new to us.
We had local organizations asking about House Bill 3342. And that was a bill that I actually didn't track very closely during the legislative session. Can you tell us basically what that's, what it was, give us an overview, what was it about? And kind of unpack for us a little bit about what Avion's specific concerns about that might be.
So yeah, I think the AVM's concern is with limits on permit extensions. We've been involved in some conversations about that. One thing to note is the changes in it that are going forth from that bill will not be, they won't start until April 1st. So if of next year. So if Avion has permits that they want to submit applications for extension under the old rules, they are able to do that up until April 1st. They would need to submit a completed extension. Do you want to talk about the development of what is the word I'm looking for? What they would need to do for some of those permits?
Well, they have a lot of permits that are overdue for their claim of beneficial use. And so historically, you'd ask for an extension of time. And historically, we would put that extension time way out because it takes a long time to build into one of those kind of water rights where you're serving a lot of users. And so that's gonna put limits on that, and that's on the timeframe on doing that, but we haven't really discussed this much with Avion, but we're thinking that a lot of their wells can provide for a lot of the service boundaries. So we've done a lot of transfers in the past that within Avion to make multiple wells serve multiple areas in the service boundary. So there are ways for them to be able to final proof going forward. We just need to talk to them about those options. In other words, you could shut down certain wells and run just the wells that you need a final proof on long enough to do a final proof survey. So this just reins in the amount of extensions. We've got some permits that have been just extending forever, and that'll bring that in to where you need to final proof them.
Okay. And they are you are in active discussions with Avion about these specific.
I think the department has reached out,
Yeah,
but
I would say the department is, not us specifically, but also willing to have conversations with them as needed.
Ongoing.
Yeah, I also wanted to talk about the exempt groundwater use expansion for half-acre commercial garden. So, okay, my understanding is, before you have an exempt well, you can do landscape irrigation, but you can't use that water for, commercial agricultural purposes. Now you are allowed to use some of your exempt well groundwater for, commercial agricultural purposes up to half acre. And I have a couple questions about that is, so with a limit of 3,000 gallons, so we still don't have any measurement or reporting kind of system around that, so I mean, you have no idea whether people need 3,000 gallons or not, a day or not. Okay, I wanted to check that. And I also, just from this brief description, I wasn't sure whether the total volume of water you're allowed to use for your property has been reduced now, because I mean, my understanding was the original threshold was 15,000 gallons per day. But this is talking about 3,000 or 5,000 combined with commercial or industrial exempt uses. So is the 3,000 on top of the 15,000?
it is.
Or is it?
So RS
Does it replace the 15,000?
No, the ORS 537, 545 allows for exempt uses from a well, and they're all in addition to each other. The half acre lawn non-commercial garden never had a road rate associated with it. It was a area. The 15,000 is for domestic. So on top of the 15,000, you got 5,000 for commercial industrial, as well as the half acre lawn or non-commercial garden historically, which didn't have a rate associated with it. So it was always hard. On exempt wells, we have the ability to put a flow meter on there, but it was always hard for me to differentiate where the uses were going without multiple flow meters on there. And so we generally shied away from that in the past. So the 5,000 commercial use that has always been allowed, now 3,000 of that 5,000 can be used towards growing for the intent to sell. So that's the difference. The half acre lawn and non-commercial garden was never to grow for the intent to sell.
So there's been a 5,000 gallon per day commercial kind of allocation for an exempt well already. What were people doing with that if not?
That was for processing food, doing something other commercial, because we have a use in the state for irrigation. That commercial was never considered to be used for irrigation. Stepping back, it was early in the day. That's how Water Masters regulated that up until marijuana became legal, and then the AG opinion came out and said, whoa, that's commercial for processing what you grow, not for growing. And so that's where the differentiation changed right there. And then it was nothing to grow with the intent to sell. This caused problems for the ma and pa organic small plots people were selling their vegetables out of. And so that's where this came from.
Okay, so right now, anyone who has an exempt well is allowed 15,000 gallons per day for domestic use.
Correct.
5,000 gallons per day for commercial use, of which you can use 3,000 for commercial garden. And then they are allowed to have a half acre of irrigated landscape. That's on top of the 15,000 plus 5,000.
Yes.
Wow, okay, that's, that's more water than I even thought was. That's helpful to understand, thank you. Jim,
So Jeremy, then what are you saying is the total cap for gallons used out of someone who has a half acre garden?
Well, there isn't one. They never did set a water amount to the half acre lawn or non-commercial garden. I mean, Oregon, obviously, we always have that rooftop of beneficial use. So if we go by a place and water's running off of their half acre, obviously, we're gonna pull over and say you're wasting water. But there was never a rate associated, and that's one of the hard things about being a water master with these 15,000 to 20,000 exempt wells out there. Whenever I get complaint, we get a lot of complaints on them overusing the water. Well, we can require, and we do require on occasion, the ones that throw up a red flag to put a flow meter on that. But again, it's so hard to, say, oh, well, maybe they're going above their 15,000 gallons a day, but we don't know that because it's going towards, they're using a ton of water on their 1/2 acre lawn or not commercial garden. So it turns into be a problem because then I need multiple flow meters to see how much is going to each of those uses. So historically, it's very rare to pull up on an exempt well that's pulling the kind of numbers that you need to be. I mean, Oregon's very generous in the amount they give for the exempt uses. But historically, we would regulate them back on the half acre. That's usually the thing that trips people up. Is you go out and measure and they're over a half acre. We've seen upwards of 2 acres. And so when it's very expensive with a mitigation program, we try to catch the people trying to fly in without going through the water rate process.
one last question about this topic. Local governments are allowed to require measurement, like metering of wells, is that correct? I mean, OWRD, could be involved in measurement for exempt wells, but if I'm tracking correctly, local governments could actually require monitoring or metering of exempt wells as well.
Yeah, I was unaware of that.
Okay, well, I'll ask Kelly. A couple other questions I had. In the realm of water quality, because they list water quality bills. There was this, really significant groundwater quality. Overhaul of Oregon groundwater quality law, Senate Bill 1154. If I'm tracking correctly, OWRD's role in that would be, like, if we were to have if we were to explore a designation of a groundwater quality area of concern in Deschutes County, OWRD's role in that would be fairly limited, right? You would mostly be working with DEQ. Is that correct?
That's how I understand.
And the last thing I wanted to ask about was, there was a lot of funding for feasibility studies, projects of various kinds, in that legislative bundle this year. There's been a lot of interest among stakeholders, we're seeing it emerging out of the Deschutes Basin Water Collaborative in aquifer recharge. Do you have a sense of which of these pots of money, for studies or for projects, we would be, trying to explore aquifer recharge work through?
That's a good question. I don't know that I have an answer. One thing I would note is that, our state budget, our department budget is under review right now, given lots of variables and, our current feasibility grants are being shut for, that we're supposed to be.
I was in for.
Yeah.
Bill.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can ask our grants coordinator, about which of those might work for some of those type. I don't know if there's studies or,
Yeah, I mean, I think we would need studies before.
Yeah.
I think anyone's ready to do any, implement any kind of
Yeah,
aquifer recharge
yeah.
or groundwater
So
recharge. project.
my inclination would be, it would be our feasibility grants, and, unfortunately,
Those are
it looks like
frozen.
those are gonna be frozen for the time being.
And is that just related to the declining revenue forecast for the state and
Yeah.
not being sure that what was approved this legislative session is actually.
Correct.
fun?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else, Commissioner?
Oh, I did have a question about Walla Walla. I see that we give, what, 2.5 million to the Walla Walla Basin. Is that because, okay, we're actually supporting what's in Oregon, but it's considered in the basin? Is that why that shows up there?
Oh, I mean, that's kind of outside of me and Jeremy's realm of understanding, but Walla Walla is a shared basin between Oregon and Washington. They're doing a lot of irrigation efforts there that are, some of which are pretty similar to stuff we do in the Deschutes. So there's a collaborative effort between both state departments to fund work and do work in that basin.
If somebody drive over there, I'll be looking closer.
I have a great colleague I can connect you with, who can talk to you about everything they're doing over there.
Okay, great. That'd be nice, thank you.
So static water level reporting requirements is the message of the day.
Yes.
And check your water right, see if you're required to do it. Estimated 23 that aren't participating, that you think is that a known number, or there could be more?
That's the number that I know. Like I said, between our groundwater, technicians and, our field services folks, that's, they're making sure they have that information correct. But that is the number that I last saw.
And just doing it annually is gonna be good for everybody to understand the basic.
Yes.
I like it. Thank you very much for joining us today. Great to see
Thank
you. Next item, department performance measures updates. Thank you very much for putting this in here today.
Good
Ready to
afternoon,
go.
Commissioners. Jen Patterson, Strategic Initiatives Manager. I'll give a quick background on this agenda item and then just turn it over to departments to give updates. So every year, departments establish performance measures based off of county goals and objectives that are set by the county commissioners. Each quarter, one or two of those goals and objectives are selected, and within that goal or objective, several departments are selected to give updates on specific performance measures. So for fiscal year 2026, quarter one, healthy people was selected, and we have four departments here to give updates on healthy
Just keep
people.
going until we're done.
Right.
It's all good.
We can be here all day with those. So first up, we have facilities. So we have Lee Randall and Shannon Ostendorf, hopefully that's the right, are going to give an update on their performance budget.
Great, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
All right, we have a very short handout there for you. Our performance measure was to ensure safe access to county facilities and services through inspection, repair, and replacement of sidewalk and parking lot inventory, and to inspect 80% of our sidewalks and parking lot inventory annually. And I forgot introductions, so I'm Lee Randall, Facilities Director.
Shannon Ostendorf, Facilities Operations Manager.
Thanks.
And I'm Brian Hayward, the maintenance supervisor.
And so typically we do those inspections through Q1 and Q2. And then, once that's complete, as we move into the budget cycle, it gives us the opportunity to plan work, for, either the remainder of this year, or if it's a larger project for next year. And then also if there are any immediate concerns, we're able to take care of those based on this year's budget. Whether it's a repair, a lot of times what we're looking to do is to grind uneven surfaces. So we typically create a list of areas that need to be ground and then move forward from there. I will give Shannon just an opportunity to talk a little bit about our inventory and what those inspections look like.
Sure, we put some statistics down just on how many linear feet and square feet of parking lots that we maintain. Currently, we do a semi-annual maintenance inspection, which is a walkthrough to look for areas where we have rise or trip hazards, or also failing pavement or concrete. We also have started annual building condition inspections that are part of our asset management program. So those get budgeted as part of a bigger project. Like, for example, we're gonna be replacing sidewalk and parking lot at the Unger Building in Redmond, and that's part of a bigger project that would be posted or identified in those building inspections. And then we budget work for either the maintenance level work or the bigger capital project work based off those inspections. And I think we have a photo on the beginning where you can see where we've marked some, and that those would be areas where we've identified that need to be ground down or maintenance level repair.
That's our update. Any questions?
Oh, I do want to thank you for doing our parking lot, the lines. Yeah, that was nice to be able to see them again.
Great. And
I don't know how many years it had been, but it definitely was overdue.
yeah, we typically target parking lots every 3 to 5 years for restriping, seal coating. Oftentimes we'll do a restripe in between the seal coating, and that comes out of the $25,000 annual budget that you see at the bottom of those bullet points. And Brian, we puts together that list every year after inspecting our parking lots. Do we have any coming up for the spring that are slated for either striping or seal coating?
For the spring, we'll be looking at, South County is one that we are going to be doing seal coating, and restriping there. That is slated for in the spring. Yeah.
I think Sisters Clinic as well. If we're correct.
District clinic.
Yeah. That's there.
That'll be crack sealing, yes.
Do you contract for that, trip hazard shaving, concrete shaving, or do you have the machine?
We do not have the
Yeah.
machine. When it's something minor, we can do it with the hand grinder, but most of the time we hire that out.
Yeah.
There are companies that have walk behind grinders.
And that's what I was thinking, it's kind of a bigger.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I appreciate those, and we do it and other jurisdictions do it too, but you can sure see the difference when that. Cause usually they're at an angle too, so they
Right.
get worse as they're happening.
And with our freeze thaw cycle,
Yeah.
it's just constant. And so it's something we really have to pay attention to.
We found that pavers are pretty stable if they're put in well, or we don't have a lot of that.
Yeah. I would say probably pavers, I think, are more susceptible to tree roots, and
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
various movement.
Yeah.
So our preference would be to have a good prep,
Yeah,
6 to 8
that's it.
inches of base rock and then concrete that tends to help hold up better over time.
Hey,
I agree, yeah.
thanks for keeping the facilities in good order.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm a fan of not trimming.
Yeah, absolutely.
There we go.
Not a good thing.
All in favor?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, great to see you.
Next up, we have health services. We have several different programs within health services. So first up, we'll have Jillian come and give an update on first health services. Didn't want to give away what it was.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Jillian Weiser. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Compliance and Quality Assurance Officer for Deschutes County Health Services. So one of the programs I oversee is our Language Access Program, it's actually 2 very skilled staff, not myself, who are doing the actual work, but I'm here to speak to one of our performance measures around ensuring that we provide services and materials to our clients in the language that they need for our behavioral health clients.
So this does come from a state requirement that we're under as a healthcare agency, that we need to provide services, meaning interpreters for like verbal interactions, and written materials, meaning a translated version of anything written in the language that any client needs. And so another layer we have on top of that, as specifically being in healthcare, is that when we are utilizing an interpreter, we need to ensure that it's somebody who is a qualified healthcare interpreter, which means they're on a registry for statewide as being qualified. And that just is recognizing that because they're interpreting healthcare information, there's rigorous testing to make sure that their language skills are sufficient to be able to convey that more complex medical and healthcare information, of which behavioral health is an even more specialized subsection. So currently, within just our behavioral health area, we have about 1.2% of our clients who are noted in our system as needing an interpreter. Most of those are Spanish, although we also have some other languages needed, such as American Sign Language and Thai. And then we always know that it's possible to have a walk-in or somebody in crisis who has a different language need at any moment. So we're fulfilling those by a combination of internal resources and external. So internally, we have 2 staff, 1.5 FTE, who are those designated language access program staff who are able to do virtually any kind of language service, including the translation and interpreting. And then we have an additional 24 staff, all sprinkled throughout the department, who are qualified and receiving some tier of bilingual pay. And so they are fulfilling needs within their own programs, as well as we kind of pool some of our staff expertise where we can to be able to meet those language access needs across the department if there's not someone within a certain program. And those staff are also relied on for requests from the County Public Information Office from Eric Breon for some requests around translating social media and media releases that we help with as well. So that's some internal resources. And then externally, we also contract with a few different vendors for things like additional interpreting, translation, bandwidth, and for the on-demand when we have a need that couldn't be scheduled to be able to pull up the on-demand either video or phone services. One example from January to June of 2025 in our behavioral health programs, we are showing right about 200 hours of interpreting that were provided by some combination of those internal and external resources to our clients. So I'm happy to field any questions you may have.
I have a question about emotional languages. My sister, who teaches in Hermiston, had someone she met with early before school started, and this young woman spoke Mayan, and there was no Google Translate. Like maybe this was 2 years ago. So have they added Mayan to Google? Do you know? I mean, have you seen that?
I am not sure about Mayan specifically. Good example. One maybe similar that I do know about is one of the indigenous languages, I believe from I think in the area of Mexico, is Purepecha. And that's a very specialized one. And we are lucky enough to have an interpreter in Central Oregon who's able to do healthcare appointments, translating or interpreting between English and Purepecha. And so that is one that we've been able to find a resource for, which is great. Our vendors with the virtual interpreting, that really expands our pool so that if we have one that we either haven't used before or is just so specialized, even if there's not somebody, here in person, which we always prefer to do in person when possible, utilizing those vendors that can really tap into this large network of virtual video interpreting increases our odds that we're able to fulfill those needs. So far, we've been able to fulfill what's been needed. And if we get more different ones, we'll certainly do our best. Thank you. Yeah.
My question was, so language access was recently, so that's the topic of one of our internal audits.
Yeah.
So I was curious if you could describe for me kind of like what was being measured by the auditor, our performance order, and what and how that compares to this performance measure. And so kind of like, are we measuring apples and oranges? Those we're looking at different things, or because it seems like we're doing pretty good on this performance measure.
Yes. Yes, I am familiar with that internal audit. I would say this is speaking to one piece, whereas the internal audit had, I think, several pieces that were a little bit broader. And so I know just from what I remember from the internal audit, some of the pieces were around like having a designated person to be responsible to ensure that language access requirements are being met, updating a policy around language access services. So some of those are going to be a little broader, but probably the pieces that when they're in place, improve our odds of meeting a metric like this. So, and I do know Deschutes County Health Services was certainly involved in responding with information for that internal audit, and in general, our as our department, I think results were pretty good as far as what we're able to do, which is great. And so I was excited about the chance to come speak to this metric, because there may be things that we've already figured out that could benefit other departments. Again, realizing there's going to be some differences, including, those healthcare specific requirements are not going to be the same. But I think we have some pretty good systems in place within our department that we're happy to, share any information that might be helpful for others.
Do you think of it as an X number of languages or just anything that, I mean, I know anything that comes in the door, but is there like a number that the federal government says you need to have this many or not?
That's a great question. The way the requirements are set up is that it's based on the demographics of the population that we serve. And I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but there's a threshold where if the demographics of the population show a certain kind of like saturation of other languages spoken, then those languages need to be sort of already put in place more proactively. And so I believe Spanish is close to that threshold for us, but compared to some other more densely populated areas, they may have 5 languages that meet that threshold, English plus 4 other ones. And so they are, readily preparing materials already in those languages, and then only the less common ones as requests pop up. And so for us, it's more in that second bucket where it's as requests pop up, we need to be ready to then find a resource and meet the need.
And I'm just thinking, for like a printed something, some brochure, do we need to have it in 3 or 2 or 14 or 42 languages? That's kind of what I was trying to envision.
Yes, so again, I'm not positive whether Spanish has met that threshold in our area or not. It probably also depends on the different regulating agencies. But that is our practice in health services, is that our materials we're preparing in Spanish and English, from the outset, to make sure that those are already available. And then if we get a request for Thai, we'll say, absolutely, let's now get take the time we need as reasonably as possible to then provide those materials in the way that they need.
Well, and as I say, it's valuable to think it through right now, because what should we or could we be propagating through the organization to be the best version of whatever we can do?
And the written stuff, I mean, with AI these days. It's pretty handy to.
Yes, a lot of automation can give a head start. We use a software program that stores memory from previous translations and has some kind of efficiencies like that. And then again, healthcare specific, we do have requirements to ensure that it's a qualified translator who's overseeing that final version that goes out, because of the risk of if there was some medical terminology that didn't quite come through the way it was supposed to, that could really have an impact on somebody's well-being. So for us, we're again under those slightly more stringent requirements, but there are a lot of automation elements that can at least give us a running start on it to then use the human brain when they really need it.
Well, congratulations on the target, production and response to it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for making health services accessible to everybody in the community.
You're welcome. It's important to us.
All right, next up, we have Christina sorry, I had this in my head.
That's okay.
Benedetti. Was I close?
You're close. Sorry. No, you're fine. Hi, my name's Christina De Benedetti. I'm program supervisor for intensive youth services and currently the interim program manager for comprehensive care for youth and families. So you're probably used to seeing Shannon Brister August, so I'm her. for today, well, for a period of time anyway. So I'm here to talk about the performance measure. 90% of RAP graduates will be enrolled in school. In this quarter, we had 100%. We had 9 that graduated from RAP, and all 9 were enrolled in school. RAP is wraparound, which is our planning process, which is part of one of the programs in intensive youth services that works with youth up to the age of 18. And this particular metric is tracked using our CANS, which is our Child and Adolescent Needs and Strengths Assessment, which is done at intake quarterly and then again at discharge to help support identifying areas of strengths and areas of needs across various domains, whether it be academic, family, safety, social. And then if there's other partner agencies that may or may not be involved with the youth, that also will come into play. So the planning process involves DHS, IDD, juvenile, school in this case. So helping students ensure that they've got a plan in place that supports their needs. Yes, that's something like, do you have any questions?
So yeah, back to the beginning, tell me about the population. So you say 9 reported and enrolled.
So,
Tell me
yeah.
about the population.
So wraparound is for youth up to the age of 18. And so these are youth that come into wraparound that are involved with multiple agencies. So they're needing this coordinated planning process. So we have a care coordinator that comes on board, and the care coordinator provides this CANS assessment. And that person helps ensure that everyone is working together as a team in the best interest of the youth and the family based on their identified needs and identified strengths.
Great, thank you.
So Christina, do you know how many were in the program last quarter?
We currently have 81, and that was as of October.
Okay, 81. And is 9 the usual graduation rate?
A little bit slow, but that's, that this particular quarter is the end of summer, beginning of the school year. So this is a slower time. That was a slower time for us.
So 81 are in the program.
Yep.
Well, great, and these are our, performance measure updates, but it's for all of us to kind of hear and toot our own horn about the great things we're doing and, understanding that, quarterly, we can sure talk about the things that we get done for the people of Deschutes County, so thank you.
When you say they graduated, does that mean they actually finished the program?
Correct.
Does that mean they're also over 18?
Under 18, up to the age of 18.
Okay, so when they hit 18, they have to leave the program?
It depends. Sometimes we can get a little bit of a variance. We want to do what's in the best interest of the youth, but we also need to be mindful of what funding indicates and tells us we can and can't do, and what the OARs indicate we can and can't do. DHS gives a little bit more of a leeway for youth that are involved in that. If they're in the independent living program, we can often go later, but that's very minimal, and I don't think there were any this last quarter.
Thanks. Thanks for this.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else? Thanks.
Thank you. Right, for the next 2 or last 2 health services updates, we have Emily Horton.
Commissioners, Lee Horton here. I am going to be covering 2 different metrics. One is for the prevention team. Jess Nyworth and Jessica couldn't make it today, so I'm gonna go over theirs. So their performance measure is the number of times prevention information is viewed in the community, communicated via social media as measured by the sum total of views. And the target for that is 4,500 per quarter. This quarter, we had 7,754 views. Those were in 3 specific campaigns. The 3 campaigns were the Friends for Life campaign, which is focused on opioid overdose prevention and educating on prevention and stop looking for signs and how to reverse it with naloxone. The second one, and that was 264 views. The second one was 988. So that was paired with the September Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And I think you guys had a nice presentation from them about that. That was 6,676 views. So that was the majority. And then the third one was Rethink the Drink. So this is a campaign focused on bringing increased awareness of the harms of excessive alcohol use and how community members might think about their own consumption. And that was 814 views. So these were primarily on Facebook and Instagram via the DCHS.
So do you think that's people clicking in to say, to read more of it? Cause I bet these things flying by, people are seeing at least the words or the headline, even if they're not clicking through it.
Yeah, it's
So there's a lot
not,
more covers than that.
yeah, it's not click-throughs necessarily, it's views, and they use, it's not just people looking at our DCHS account, they have like promotional where they pay, so that if you see those more in certain demographics of people.
Yeah.
So like, if you're in a
That's
certain
question.
demographic, they push it out to you.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to be able to, follow those numbers a little bit more. I haven't seen that on this report specifically.
Yeah, it's helpful, I think, to kind of have an awareness of what that looks like, because I think a lot of times we are doing this work and we don't know like how much of an impact is
I
that.
hope somebody saw it.
Yeah, exactly. I know we think that in EH a lot, so.
It's such a huge difference between this suicide prevention pieces and the other two pieces is, did we spend a lot more money to push that out more, or is?
I don't have the dollar amounts, but I would guess it has to do with a funding base. And I know they did a lot around suicide prevention awareness month in this particular quarter, which I think Rethink the Drink and Friends for Life, like Friends for Life rolled out a little bit like in the spring, I think. I don't remember exactly, but it was rolled out, so perhaps there were more visits during that time for that one, if that makes sense.
Got it, yeah.
I'm just making a guess. but-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask Adria to come up for our environmental health one. So for our environmental health performance measure, it's reduce outbreaks in foodborne illness by inspecting a minimum of 95% of licensed facilities per state requirements. Our value update was 102%, so we did 996 field inspections of 979 required field inspections in this quarter. They were above required inspections because of recheck inspections and also some new performance measures and metrics that we put in place. So, Adria, introduce.
Above 100%.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm Adria Alvin. I'm an environmental health supervisor. I work with Emily.
So there's probably a few reasons that this is above
Oh,
100%, but we had more recheck inspections.
Yeah.
We've also rolled out a new performance metric measuring system for our inspectors. Within the last year, we have had an additional environmental health supervisor come on board. So Adria and Eric are now splitting those duties, which allows them more time with our inspectors and helping them with quality and quantity of inspections. We had some findings in our triennial review from OHA that really helped us hone down on like what we needed to focus on and overall helped our inspectors. We're also going through some other transitions with some retirements of 3 staff that have like 90 years of
Yeah.
environmental health and experience. So part of that is we are transitioning from a more specialist type of inspector to a generalist type inspector. So we're doing a lot of training for everyone on how to do pool inspections, lodging inspections, tourist facility inspections.
Yeah.
Which we believe, although it's a little bit extra workload for our staff, people are more engaged because they get a little bit more variety in their day. Probably has something to do with
Not just fast food joints.
exactly. Adrian.
I don't think so. I think the other thing I would add is that just moving to a more generalist model, that was one of the reasons we decided to take a closer look at some of the performance measures, just to make sure as people were spending more time on training and learning the pool and spa program and the drinking water program, that they were having a balanced workload among all of the staff, and just so we could kind of keep an eye on how much work people were being asked to do as we gave them additional responsibilities.
The last thing I would mention is Eric is retiring this month, so we're going through some other big transitions.
Erica and Eric, we're just on a roll, aren't we?
We're gonna have some challenges in the next few months, just making sure with staffing and all of this, turnovers. It's difficult with a lot of change in our program right now. We're trying to stay ahead of it and make sure that we're monitoring.
Well, they will maybe miss us and want to come back.
You never know, you never
Yeah,
know.
we-
All that time at home.
Yes.
We
Difficult.
have invited them already.
Yeah.
Ah, we've got a deal for you. I saw the public health update email, talking about that food safety and preparation at home, for the holidays.
Oh, yeah,
That all just went out.
that was a fun one. Or one of our inspectors wrote that.
Mhm.
There you go.
I guess the last thing I wanted to share is that we have seen in the newspaper a few businesses closing. You may have noticed in the bulletin, we have been keeping an eye on how businesses are doing with the economy. And our plan review staff are still really busy. So it's been looking like even when businesses do close, there's a new business that applies and something else goes into that spot pretty quickly. So our plan review work and opening new businesses has not slowed down at all. I think we have about 15 restaurants in plan review in the process of opening just today when we checked before this meeting. And then the other thing that's kind of impacting our community of licensed facilities is rule changes. So this past year, we had a new set of food rules that went into effect. And as information from the state has been created, like guidance documents and new forms, we've been distributing that in the community to all of our licensed pool operators. And the food rules are now open right now in Oregon, and we're expecting that a new set of food rules will go into effect in January 2026. So we're also planning on educating all of our licensed food facilities on all of the changes that may go into effect next year.
But I do want to point out that Mark Katzman, one of my friends who had just passed, actually had that food prep building that, according to Eric, he said it was always such a pleasure to work with. And unfortunately, he sold it to someone else before he passed. And so, you know, food prep has really lost a great, immaculately clean kitchen. So that's really too bad. I mean, have you seen anybody that's stepped up into that realm?
There was an operator, we know of the person who purchased that. It doesn't look like they've stepped into the role of providing that kitchen as a shared space yet, but we are in communication with all of the operators that worked in that kitchen. And we've been trying to help make sure they have another place to work.
We went in there years ago, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very helpful facility for the community and really served the community very well.
He did.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You were talking about seeing applications coming in. So are you aware of restaurants like way before they get the newspapers or the media?
Yeah, we try to be in good communication with all of the business operators to make sure that they know what they need to do to get their business up and running as soon as possible. So we try to stay in communication with people long
I
before
was,
they.
I was wondering whether like the foodies are like
Oh, we're trying to get in.
tracking you and
Oh, we're like, who's applied?
and trying to keep on top of.
Yeah, sure.
Keep ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Closed books, no, public information.
Is it public information or is it not public?
Well, like when they apply. it
Yeah, once they
becomes
apply, it
public.
is, yeah.
Smart.
learned something new today.
Be like, tuning in.
Thank you very much.
Question?
Very excited.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Natural Resources, Kevin Moriarty.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, commissioners and county staff. My name is Kevin Moriarty. I'm Sheets County Forester. I'm here to report on one of our performance measures, which was to maintain or increase the number of communities participating in the Firewise USA program. Right now, we have the measure set at 65. And when I reported this, we put it at 81. Now, this number does fluctuate throughout time. So last reported on October 17th, we had a total of 79 Firewise communities with 17 pending. So there could be a little bit of fluctuation. Some of the Firewise sites get removed, some get added, some are actually the same community. They just are changed over from one Firewise site to another. So that's what we have for the numbers right now. 79 Firewise site with 17 pending with a total of 96 Firewise sites for Deschutes County.
Would that make the most in the nation then?
I don't think we're not counting our pending sites.
I know, but when we get if we get the 96.
I think we'll be close. There's a couple in California that we seem to be kind of just racing or leapfrogging with. But yeah, they're roughly around 100 sites as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you need like 10 more. Working, Kevin.
Yeah, we're trying and you know, with the 17 pending sites, I think that really shows that, you know, the trend is upward for these sites. We really incentivize becoming Firewise with our fuel reduction grant program that we just went through this fall. We're awarding 54 awards, which is the most we've ever awarded through that program. And to date, we will have, in the last 3 years, we have awarded 79 communities. So we're really trying to just distribute that through all the Firewise sites. Yeah, any questions or comments at this time?
So quantity is one measure of how well we're doing in our community. I've also been asking Kevin about to try to help me get a handle on within any Firewise community, how many, what percentage of the landowners are participating, or you know, how much of the landscape has actually been defensible spaced. As you know, as we're learning, insurance companies are interested not just in individual properties, but you know, essentially whole neighborhoods. And if you're not, you know, if you've done the work at your house and several of your neighbors haven't, then you're not really that much safer than you would have been. So I was asking Kevin to try to help me figure out how to understand within the Firewise communities that we have, because those are the places where I would expect the highest percentage of property owners to have done the work. You know, how well are we doing? And so he's connecting me with some folks from the State Fire Marshal's office and other places, and trying to get some of that information. And I think that actually that kind of information will be very useful when we get to the discussion of requirements for home hardening, and you know, however many years from now when we get to discussions of talking about whether we're going to have defensible space requirements. Because you know what we see in my mind, Firewise communities are what we can accomplish with education and technical assistance and some incentives. And then you know, kind of the additional potential piece is if you add requirements, can you get from 30% of the properties within a neighborhood to 60% or something like that. Anyway, just wanted you all to know that I've been trying to understand, you know, how well we're doing within Firewise communities as well as in total number.
I mean, I would just say anecdotally on that, you know, the Firewise sites do fluctuate in size quite substantially. Some are upward over 100 participants, and some are as little as 8. And you know, so that ratio can dramatically change based on the actual size of the site. I have heard of a few of the smaller sites that are really probably at or above that 80% of participation. So I mean, that's a good thing. But I think with some of those larger sites is where the struggle might be a little more difficult on getting a higher percentage of folks to participate. But you know, it is a really good avenue for us to engage with those communities. And it provides not only a point of contact, which is really important, but also an action plan that they can work on to try and reach those goals.
But I really appreciate once, you know, a group of homeowners start to see, oh, that's what defensible space looks like, and a little bit open, trimmed up trees, defensible, first 5 feet around the house. it does propagate, through a community. Neighbors start talking about, well, you should do it too. I haven't meaning to, but next year. So, but it is happening. I think we're getting better instead of just watching the vegetation grow these days.
And we do, in our reporting, we do ask for that percentile, as far as, how many participants were, participated in the project with our grant reporting. So we can kind of get a sense, but it's not comprehensive as far as like every Firewise site, what they're doing.
Is Lynn still having those meetings at the road department, and within Firewise for education? Is that group still happening?
The Project Wildfire Neighborhood Coalition meeting, yeah. So we're having those every third Thursday of the month, at 2 o'clock at the road department. That has been tremendously successful. We have gone from, I think we had maybe 40 people involved to close to 200 now. 200 people are involved, at least like via email, at least they're receiving and getting information. We've expanded those meetings to go throughout the county now, so it's not so necessarily Bend centric. We're having meetings, and we've had a meeting in Pine, we've had a meeting in Sisters. We're scheduled to have a meeting this month in Redmond, so that's hopefully going to improve some of that as well. And we've also gotten representatives from areas too, to really kind of be the lead for those areas, to try to coordinate those Firewise communities in those areas.
So you have someone from Lapine then that's doing it?
Yes, Les
Okay.
Adams is kind of our coordinator in Lapine.
That's great. I just think I had the privilege of meeting his wife, I think in September.
Oh.
Yes, so anyway,
Nice.
it was really nice. He wasn't at an event, but she was.
Oh, great.
Yes, yes, I'm
Yeah, Les is
his wife, and he, I know he's done a lot.
Yeah, he has, and he's really stepped up to try and get more engagement down in South County, so.
I know, it's really good. Well, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, one more department, last only because of it's alphabetically. We have solid waste.
See how this works.
It's the only fair way I know how to do is alphabet. Next time I should.
At least we're here.
Yeah. It looks like we have Tim and Sue online as well. So
Perfect.
I'll let you introduce.
Jeff Merwin, Compliance and Infrastructure Manager, Solid Waste. New guys. So we have two metrics that we're reporting on. I'll skip the order a little just to piggyback on a little bit of what Kevin had. Is the first one is diversion, and we took the last, so basically the goal is to exceed the average of the last 3 years diversion tonnage. So to break that down, it's 15,000 ton per quarter. So for a number to use, and we hit 23. So it significant increase. And this goes back to the reporting of ending July 1st. So we're kind of in that fire-free range, people are prepping. But what our big driver is, which is pretty interesting, with the talk of the fire-free, is there was 100% increase in compacted yard debris collection. So that's going to be your franchise trucks. So people stuffing the cans and taking advantage of that.
So you said compacted, so they're using a hauler truck.
Yes.
Regular,
And the uncompacted, we saw a 47% increase, so still very large on that end. And those are big drivers. And the other one, another one is the wood lumber was 134% increase. So that's getting diverted, instead of, possibly going into the landfill, that's going into the wood pile and getting ground. So that's a substantial number there. That could be economy driven. It could be price driven, cheaper to take it by the cubic yard. Not exactly sure why that's driving that, but that's a substantial increase there.
Sorry, let me
Yeah.
let me double check if I'm tracking here. So 100%, like large increases in compacted, or 100% increase in compacted yard debris, 43% in uncompacted. That's what's being diverted, or
So
just the total amount of yard debris collection is
That's-
is increasing by that,
yes,
and within that, you know, even though that's using so much, we still were able to divert 23,000.
It's counted in the diversion, so the higher the number so if we're doubling the number of, so on the compacted, if it's doubling, 100% increase on that, that's driving that overall number up.
Okay.
So the more volume that comes in of
100%
that.
increase of diverted compacted yard debris.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right.
So, and it's really the wood products that were driving it. There was a slight decrease in commingle over that period of time. And yeah, it's really on the wood side. So, and all types of wood. So people are, I don't know, I think they're aware and it's cleaning up. So our other performance measure is compaction. So this is very standard metric in the solid waste industry. You look for 1,200 pounds per cubic yard. So that's a number that's set by, really SWANA, which is Solid Waste Association of North America. That's the guideline for landfill operators. Hey, we want to hit this metric, and 1,200 is probably a little on the low side for a municipal solid waste. A couple things that can affect that number is the amount of construction demolition material that comes in. The average density of that is going to be about 1,000. It's harder to compact. It's not as dense as the wet garbage that comes out of your kitchen. The other thing that can drive it too is the amount of soil you put on. So our number, we didn't subtract any soil out. So as you know, we're working on a renewable natural gas project. We're trying to get up to final cover. So when they do the drone survey that we use the data for, it doesn't know the difference between soil and waste. It's just going to an elevation and giving us that data. So you have this much waste. Typically you may have 6 inches of soil to a foot on top. We're going in, putting in 18 plus inches to get that up to final grade. So if you have that much more waste or that much more mass, the metric is thinking it's waste. So if you do a correction, say we think we took about 20,000 yards of soil off the stockpile in addition to daily cover to get up to that final elevation. You take that out and the metric actually comes out to 1291 instead of under, and that would make sense. You're catching that bigger waste mass. I mean, you have 60-ton scrapers running load after load on top of that. It's going to compact down, so that you would expect that compaction to be better. And it is reflected when you pull that dirt number out.
I have a residential question for you.
Sure.
So I thought you weren't supposed to use compactors anymore. You're talking about compaction at 1,200 pounds per cubic yard, but what about a compactor in your kitchen?
No,
You're not supposed to use those anymore, aren't
I
you?
don't know.
I mean, I haven't had one forever, so
Garbage disposal, it goes
That was the
away.
thing back in the day.
and then you're not supposed to put it down the garbage because if you're on a private septic system, that messes that up.
Oh, it depends what you put in there though.
Well,
Don't put your eggshells.
Don't?
No, they'll plug up your septic system.
Oh, yeah, well, anyway.
No, it's people, you see them, they were popular in the 80s.
Right.
I haven't seen one in a long time. They
I
were
mean, I'm
kinda
like,
neat.
I don't think I've had one forever, and I'm just like, but you're talking about, oh, this is supposed to be incredibly compacted, and I'm like, but,
Yeah, it's all about airspace, the tighter we can get the trash, the more we can get in, the longer the landfill lasts. So that's why that compaction number is so important to us is we want to get the most compaction we can. So
you want to get more compaction, but we don't. That's what you're saying.
you can pack it down in your can. It'll make it heavy.
So compaction, you're probably dialed in with the machines you have. You're just saying that measurement is the interesting part.
Yes,
We're in the mix. You said
but then
construction and
there is a
demolition.
point too, and we run an 836 trash compactor. It's 138,000 pounds. It's the biggest one on the market. So, back in early mid 2000s, we had 816s that were probably 70,000 pounds. So it's hard. You can hardly break a 2x4 with those. So, the technology is better. The machines are heavier, but as your volume goes up, there's a point to where you can't get the number of passes you need. And so if you start seeing that number dip substantially and consistently as your trash volume's going up, you're not getting your compaction and you need to either add another machine or you've had a lot of
Just
downtime.
time rolling on top of the carpet
Mhm.
and stuff, okay? And then you're coming around the bend kind of in the horseshoe fashion, right? So right by the highway, it looks like being covered.
Yes.
It's getting to grade right there by the highway. right?
Yeah, we have one more lip to go on it. We're actually jumped back and started on that today, and then we'll be really out of sight
Yeah, after
for the
that,
remainder of the landfill life.
I noticed that.
We're looking forward to that. It's a lot of eyes on us. We're right there.
Yeah, we're thanks, yeah.
We've been down out of sight for a long time and many years, and then, we came up in the last 2 years and caught final, and there we are right on top with the trash trucks and compactors, so.
Can I go back to the diversion?
Yeah.
So, so we're seeing a bump in improvements in our diversion rates. What kind of planning did we have to do a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago and then what do we have to do to kind of get to those diversion rates? And then what's next? What are we?
Sure.
What's in the pipeline right now to further increase our diversions?
That's a great question. I think looking at this, this diversion is probably more to the awareness of fire around the households. I mean, it's basically on your wood waste. So the other one could be with the clean wood and lumber, tip fees go up. Going by cubic yard might be a little cheaper, motivate a contractor to utilize that and divert it. The next step, and we're, in the conceptual design phase now of a construction demolition processing facility to pull that out of the waste stream. So that's the next step, and also increasing the size and the capacity of our composting facility. We're vastly undersized with what we have. We need to market it better. We're seeing half of that comes in during fire free is just getting put into waste, or we try to use it as daily cover, the best we can, but there's a need to expand that facility substantially.
And so even though we did great with yard debris diversion this quarter, maybe the quarter before, we probably weren't hitting that level of diversion of.
I mean, those are big increases. More than likely not that much. We'll see on this next quarter, because we had the flat fire, got a lot of media attention. So, if we still see an increase in that, then we may be able to tie it to that.
We have, so we need to expand our compost operation, but it was big enough to divert at least this much, this.
Mhm. It's really where we miss out is, the fire free events is that volume there, and what we collected are at the sites that aren't at not. That's what we call the low hanging fruit for diversion. If we can process that and use that beneficially, as a composting material for farmers or, those hobby farmers, that type
So
of.
it's all the same situation, we just gotta get the customer, get somebody to take it, right?
Yeah, and there's a need. I mean, the soil here, we all know it's
Oh, yeah.
hummus and
No, we follow.
it's really, I've tried it
Quite
with
the
and I've tried it
commitment,
without.
But there's also like from arriving at the compost operation, it takes how many months before
So
it's finished compost?
depends on your system, and we are looking at a upgraded system, so an in-ground system that would go in, and that would cut that time down. So you're 3 months to when it shows up to when it can go out the door.
So if there's just a massive volume showing up at fire free, like no matter how good we are at marketing, there's still only so much you can take in May.
Depending on how much space you have, if you have the space, right now, we don't have the area, the footprint to stockpile it. Because it's seasonal, and you're not gonna send a whole bunch out in the middle of winter. It's gonna be springtime when people are landscaping and planting. And then we get those huge influxes like right now with the fall cleanups, and then, the fire free events. So if you can process and store that material, then, it's not necessarily gonna go bad on you. You just have to market it out.
Get better over time.
Good. It's really the ag market that is untapped here.
Yeah. Do we, I mean, do we have avoided costs type analysis or estimates? I mean, you know, what does it cost us in space that we are using up in a landfill cell? That if we could divert that instead, what would we be saving? Is it worth, you know, either making the compost cheaper to people, or even like subsidizing them? We will haul this to your farm if you're ready to take this material, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's basically that's the,
Sure.
you're either paying for it, paying for it in losing landfill space, or you're paying for it in
Yep.
moving it out of the compost operation.
Well, if we're disposing of 20,000 tons of yard debris at it's 90 a ton, that could be for municipal solid waste. And as we go out further to other landfills, or potential sites, that haul cost is gonna be included on that, so it's gonna go up. So there is, a cost benefit to divert that, and, but, gotta be able to move it too. And that's where we've really lacked in the marketing with our current provider on that. We just don't feel they've reached out. But,
And is that part of that? The compost operation, that's its own contractor agreement. It's separate from the hauling and other stuff.
So it's tied, it's tied in with recycle.
Yeah.
So it's the recycle and the compost is under the same contract.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, anything else online? You're both joined us here today. Jeff's doing a good job.
Yeah, I see they hop on and
I know.
it's me down here.
Not a problem.
See how this works.
Wasn't that thoughtful?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, Sue.
Thank you.
Oh, there we go, yay.
Good job.
We'll see Tim in a couple hours. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Other item, yeah, we have a joint meeting in Redmond tonight, that's joint city council, 9:30. Oh. But that's time. Anything else, other items? Oh, yeah, other items, yeah.
So, I have two fundraising sponsorship requests on the table. And so I've heard kind of mixed reviews back from the commissioner, so I'm just coming to you with the request. So, as a reminder, we started out with $10,000 in the fundraising sponsorship request for fiscal year 2026. To date, 2,600 have been allocated. And we have now two requests on the table. One of them is Family Access Network for their 2026 fundraiser. Their request is in the amount of $2,500. And then we have the Hospice of Redmond Festival of Trees fundraising gala also request in the amount of $2,500. And just for reference, last year, both of those organizations received $1,000 from the commissioners.
Well, it's good that we were able to put these funds aside, and these are both wonderful efforts, and they're coming in at a strategic time, finding out that there's resources available, so. Yeah, any comments, commissioners?
Yeah, I have both great organizations, want to support them. Given the amount of sponsorship money we have, I think $1,000 is a good level to support each of those.
I'm thinking like 1,500 for each one, just to. Since the resources are there. Just a number.
When did we start this funding cycle?
So this is a fiscal year. So,
Fiscal year.
yep, July 1.
Since July, we've
allocated 2,600, and it's a little bit different this year than in previous years. So fundraising, there was a sponsorship pool that was kind of separate last year, and then fundraising requests and discretionary grants were in the same pool but designated funds. So this year we have just the discretionary grants. Those are happening once a year. You'll see that I'm gonna bring those before you on November 12th. So the binders, Angie, thankfully, thank you, just finished the binders. So the discretionary grants, you'll be seeing all of those requests, which is why we have two of the fundraising requests got into that grant pool. So I was able to pull them out. So this
So now
year,
we're only gonna do it once a year and we're not going to, we used to do it every quarter.
yeah, there's a lot less funds than in previous years that have been available. So
So
the,
did you let everyone know that I had applied?
yeah, yep, it was well publicized. We had a robust application pool, so I think the word got out. So this year, the sponsorship fundraising is in one separate pool, and that's $10,000, and that's just some of those requests have been coming in through email, and then these two came in through that discretionary grant where I pulled out, and put them into the fundraising ones.
But the sponsorship is rolling, right? Like.
It's a rolling one,
I
yep,
mean,
there's not a deadline, it's just for the whole fiscal year, $10,000 with some of the 400 remaining.
I don't know, did I mention it earlier that Rascal Rodeo actually put Deschutes County insignia on the T-shirt that they gave out that day at the circuit finals? I thought it was really.
I know they asked for the logos because they sent it, yeah.
I was really surprised and I was really appreciative. So it's nice to see we were thankful to everybody. It was a good deal. Well, I know I'd said 2,500 for the hospice. I read it, it's a really outstanding program. You go to 15.
I still think, I mean, if this fiscal year just started in July and it's only November. It'd be good to save some money and meter it out over the course of the year. I mean. It's a lot of November, December, January, February, through to June. That's how much of a year we have left, and there can be a lot of sponsorship requests within that time frame. These sponsorship requests are typically for, to help an organization do a fundraiser. And so, I think $1,000 per organization is a really good amount to help a group do the fundraiser that they want to do, and hopefully that fundraiser is where they really make big money.
That's right. It is a fabulous group and I am writing my check for $110 so that I can attend. So I would support that for 1,500.
For both of them, Fan and.
I think hospice is a bit more unique. It's a lot of volunteers. And they're gonna depend on community, people raising their paddles. So that's why I'd say 1,500 for them.
Festival trees. And $1,000 for Fan.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Kind of a negotiation, but yeah, I support that.
Okay, so final word, fan raiser 2026, $1,000, festival of trees, 1,500.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I agree, there'll be a lot of requests here. We'll
Yeah.
work through it.
Yeah, well. April or May when we got nothing left.
Okay, other items, anything else, Commissioner?
I don't think so.
Was thinking of something earlier, but I forgot, so.
Oh, the resolution, I would love for Deschutes County to be one of the first people that actually have the resolution for our 250th country's birthday next year. I would like to, that's why I brought it up early, so that Deschutes County could be at the first of the pack and not at the end.
Yeah, so that was a request to do proclamations that.
Right.
yeah,
Mhm.
Celebrating,
Our 250th birthday,
so whatever the name of
yes.
250. Well, yeah, we'll get around to that. Is it time? This is November for next year. You're just saying you want to do a resolution before the end of the year?
Right, yes. I wanted us to be one of the first ones. Remember, I did get my degree in history originally, and I do feel that, our country's.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, I'm there, I'm excited about it, but yeah, so you wanna do it early, or you wanna,
Yes, you know me, I like to be first rather than last.
or the middle of the pack?
Right, who wants to be in the middle because you just get buried
So before the.
in the trash
have
and
a
your compact.
resolution
Yes.
celebrating 2026, 250 years.
Yeah, I mean, even if we could do it in December or something, but yeah, it would be nice.
Any thoughts?
I think that there's gonna be a lot of excitement around our nation's 250th birthday next year and that we probably haven't really gotten a full sense of the scope of celebration efforts yet, and so I'd like to wait a little longer.
Well, this would just be a resolution, just acknowledging that.
Yes.
I like the idea of doing something before the end of the year, just to kind of drop it out there and say, okay, here, 2026 is coming, because maybe not everybody's even thinking about it. You know, because yes, there will be a lot of activity this year, so as I say, we'll look for an opportunity to do something before the end of the year, just to get a resolution for the Board of Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? So we do have an executive session.
The Deschutes County Board of Commissioners, acting as the governing body for Deschutes County 911 Service District, will now convene an executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660. The specific authorization for this executive session is ORS 192.660 subsection 2H, which allows the board to meet in order to discuss litigation or anticipated litigation. Designated staff and the media are allowed to remain during the executive session. However, the media may only report that the board met in executive session and the identified basis for meeting an executive session. Recording devices are not permitted. No final decisions will be made, and at the conclusion, we'll open the doors and invite the audience back to the meeting.
Okay, we'll be back after the executive session. Okay, so we're out of executive session. Please proceed as discussed. Is there anything else for this meeting? They mentioned, it's 3:00 now at 5, I think it's 5 o'clock, or 5:30.
5:30.
5:30, we're meeting with the city of Redmond, a joint meeting. So
In Redmond.
in Redmond. Okay, meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.